Hello and welcome. I'm getting the sense Manjari doesn't need a big introduction in this crowd, but I will say a few words. Um, First of all, that we are delighted to have you here tonight as a guest speaker. And Manjari grew up in Mumbai, India. Before moving to the US, she worked as a photojournalist for the national news daily, The Times of India. Since then, Manjari was included in the 2010 Critical Mass Top 50. That same year, her work was reproduced on the cover of PDN EDU, awarded ASMP's Best of Show, and received 8 honorable mentions at the IPA Lucy Awards. Her work has garnered quite a following online, with features in Burn Magazine, 1000 Words, Deep Sleep, Flag Photo, Fraction Magazine, Leica, and Lens Scratch, among many others. Most recently, Manjari was able to harness this social media following and translate it into a very successful campaign on Kickstarter, raising upwards of $25,000 to fund her project Darshan, which aims to photographically create 9 classical images of gods and goddesses, pivotal to mythological stories in Hinduism. Darshan is a project of epic dimensions. It depends not only on a mastery of the photographic medium, but also requires a deep knowledge of mythology and spiritual traditions. It simultaneously demands an exquisite attention to detail and the ability to collaborate with and direct a team of artists and artisans, often as many as 35 individuals, in order to fulfill its vision. Manjari, you're an inspiration. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our series.
I had the pleasure of meeting Jaime just a couple of days ago so we could have the talk before the talk. And that was a very kind introduction. Thank you so much. I know he's the one who's put the speaker series together, and after Ink to iPad, there are about 4 more amazing speakers coming. So I know I'll be returning for more at room 418F for more, for more talks and speakers. And I met Katrine a few years ago, actually. I was a ASMP scholarship winner, still in college, and she was giving a Photoshop lecture in Columbus, Ohio, which is where I did my bachelor's. And it's just so great to associate with her again in this capacity. So thank you so much for inviting me. So today's talk is mostly about darshan, but it also starts with a little bit of introduction on what drives me and also what has led to some of the other projects that I have recently been recognized for in the last few years. I want to start with this quote that has always been a huge inspiration to me. I remember using it in, first having it in a journal and then using it in a little talk in my college. And I think it really, really applies to many people that I've been inspired by. And it's actually really simple, and it, I think, very much makes sense because it's what we do as New Yorkers, especially, where the telephone chain, the chain of recommendation is really what gets us going. And whenever we're in a neighborhood, it doesn't matter if you're a New Yorker, if you're in a new neighborhood that you haven't been in, you have to make a phone call and ask someone what's the best place to get the best coffee. You rely on that. And I think a part of someone sharing that with you is them sharing their sense of astonishment, which this is a Pulitzer Prize winner writer, American writer, and she said, "You were made and set here to give voice to this, your own astonishment." And that's what makes art a wonderful thing, because everyone is astonished by a completely different aspect of our life. And that's how we end up learning from each other about something that we might ignore, but someone is able to look at in a very unique way. So keeping that in mind, and we will return to this as a concept, I would say this, in the last 3 years, this was superbly important for me. And that was what are the 2 ways that we get astonished? And one is when, I've never been to Kabul and, I'm seeing something for the first time and I'm astonished. And what I learned from my most recent series is that astonishment can also happen when you revisit something that you're actually most comfortable with, that you've known your whole life, but you're actually you're able to pull it out of context and then study it from a perspective that you maybe just never looked at it before. And sometimes to do that, you just have to step away from what you call home. And that became really apparent to me. And this is a very common sight in the streets of Mumbai, and so is this, which is, you feel like you're probably standing, you're looking at like this old antique temple from years ago, but pretty much I would say a few streets over there'll be some luxury high-rises. Mumbai is very much like New York in that sense, where you're gonna walk, you're gonna be like looking at a 100-year-old house, and then you'll be looking at like, you know, like brand spanking new construction. And that happens a lot in Mumbai. But what I'm trying to say is that these temples, which might be an uncommon sight here, are very, very common to most Indians. They were certainly very common to me when I lived there. I lived my whole life, I was born and raised in India. And one of the things that's really interesting about India is that there's no separation of church and state like there is over here. So religion is very like seamlessly integrated into your everyday life. So, you know, you're walking by a giant mural of Ma Lakshmi, which some of you might have seen, or you see a big line and people are waiting for a darshan in a temple, which is exactly what the term darshan means, which is a viewing, a very an apparition, a glimpse. Those are going to be regular terms, but the word darshan has value because what you're about to view is supposed to invoke a sense of spirituality within you. And it's the darshan of this particular deity or this particular god. So naturally living in India and experiencing this day in and day out, I moved to America. I moved from Mumbai to Ohio, which was definitely a fantastic culture shock. And I only recommend, I mean, in my world, I would say if you spend all this money, get all that paperwork to get a visa, and then you move to another country and you don't have a culture shock, then what did you pay for? So I've said this to people before, I love New York, and New York is so Mumbai, but if I moved from Mumbai directly to New York, I probably wouldn't have had that culture shock. So Ohio was definitely, I think, literally the first few words out of my mouth were, why is everyone so quiet? I just couldn't understand. I thought there was maybe a curfew or a national holiday, and there was like, but I think then going from that aspect of America, which I didn't expect to see, and having everything that I expected in my head turned around, return back to Mumbai and have what I was experiencing, which was reverse culture shock. I'm suddenly back into that flow of deities and incense and darshans all around me. And of course, I'm talking about, I've been here for a decade, so I'm talking about 2002, 2003, when this started to happen. So it's always interesting after you start a project and once you get into it deep enough and then you bring it to some fruition, that when you start to study and find out how far back maybe the germ of this idea began, and for me it began, I think, with having this reverse culture shock, which I now deem invaluable because ultimately you're pushed into experiencing something that you didn't. You're out of your comfort zone, and I think that is like often the birthplace of a lot of great ideas. So keeping that in mind, this is kind of just an entrance into my first series. So in India, which if some of you have traveled, you will notice that one of the first things that you're offered is, would you like some chai? And that would be someone that you maybe just met, whose home you just entered. Maybe you didn't even enter their home, they're on the street, they want to ask you if you want to come over for chai. It's almost like the icebreaker, a hot cup of tea leads to conversations, that's what it means. So naturally, I moved to Ohio and I'm offering people chai left, right, and center. And that wasn't always received with, yeah, I just met you, I'm going to go and have chai with you. That didn't always happen. Sometimes people were like, well, you know what, let's hang out a bit. And then, you don't just invite someone into your home, your private space, you clean up a little bit, or you know, maybe meet them for a few times before you have them over chai. So I feel like I always recognize that and remember that as a very separating feature. And I started this project in 2009, the beginning of 2009, and I called it the Shower Series. And I invited people to come over and take a shower in my shower. Now, how is that connected to chai? It is, because at the end of that shower, I make chai and we drink chai. And if I have to get you into the shower so we can have chai, I'll do it, you know. But I think what it really means is that I would never invite someone to take a shower in India. I would not. But the number of people who I don't know at all that will say yes to a shower before chai in America is astonishing to me. I've definitely, you know, it's an absurd thought. I've never been asked it, but I certainly asked a lot of people. None of them were absolute strangers. They were like second, third, and fourth generation friends. But I think, and then as the series progressed, and I'm just going to show a few images from the series. I'm just going to breeze by them. And they led to moments that were really mostly me capturing this person going into a zone with themselves. And an aspect of that was we both were allowing each other to be intimate. And that's really what it comes down to, even with, in India, when someone invites you in and they say they want you to have chai. They want to get inside your head a little bit. They want to get to know you. And I think that, especially in this city where we're at a pace where we really just don't slow down until something jarring happens, maybe a shower gets someone's attention. Maybe they come into the shower and maybe we get to talk. But what was happening in those like power pack shower moments for me was that I was learning so much about this person. It was like in 3 hours we talked about their greatest triumphs, some of their greatest defeats, some of the things that inspired them or broke them down, and how they pulled themselves back up together, and then we had some chai. So I felt we bonded at a really risque Western level that I don't expect my parents to completely understand. They were like, oh, this is nice pictures. They came over and they took a shower. In your shower, was your husband okay with this? It was definitely, for them, it was certainly an alarming cultural experience. But I know it got me my first project, and I'm very thankful for everyone that showered for me. Like, I continue to ask people to shower for me. But leading on to breezing by a next project, and it was called Anastasia, which was definitely a gift of the Shower series. And I met Anastasia, the very first image in the Shower series, and she sort of opened up with me in a really, really, really exhaustive way that she, in some way, I think, connected with me at a deeper level. And as I continue to transition into my next project, I feel like the next project was really about me transitioning. And Anastasia's stories were so much about transition. She just was the perfect, ideal muse for this project, for the project titled her name, Anastasia. And I think it was a lot about us being in New York, while the Shower series was us isolating ourselves in a bathtub. I think Anastasia became about finding, you don't always get to shower with people and just, break it down for 3 hours. But at our own individual levels, maybe as we're walking around from subway stop to job to errand, maybe we find our own little secret gardens as we spin our webs in cities like New York or Mumbai. And so it was about glamour and glitz because we're surrounded by it, and I was surrounded by it, but it's also about loneliness, which I think connects all of us, wherever we're from, whether or not we discuss it. So these next few images were made for Anastasia. And I think this was my foray into construction, if you will. Like, I think I've always been into pre-visualization, but I think this series specifically was a lot about what do I want, where do I want her to go, what moment do I want her to walk into for this particular picture. And that, I think, in a very interesting way, led back to darshan. So we're back to the quote that we started with, which is, if to get used to constantly give voice to that astonishment and to start to make it about how fun it is, the sharper you get on understanding that astonishment, which is really understanding yourself, and then giving voice to it, and the closer you are to achieving what your goal is as an artist, I feel. And so you understand something in a way that others don't. And that is why you're so psyched about it. You're telling someone about a restaurant or a movie, you're just telling them you really, really believe that this person has to check this out because you know it's good. And at the same time though, when 10 years later you take it out of context, you go back to that restaurant, you're like, I can't believe I was eating at this place, It tastes like crap, And I feel like that's what happened with me in a way with darshan, where I was taken out of context from my culture, and then I was able to study the whole concept of mythology, but in a very isolated fashion. Now, I was in America, and I was finding myself like constantly surrounded by studying aspects of fine art, which is what I came to this country for. So I was visiting a lot of museums. And my parents, while were continuing their routine, which is what I was used to when I lived with them. And like I said, going back slowly and getting that reverse culture shock was kind of reacclimating me in small bursts for this darshan series, and then I would return. Last August, I just realized that while I was completely surrounding myself with photography in one world here, and my parents were surrounding themselves with like these Hindu rituals and customs and their love for their spirituality, I realized that I just never see images of gods and goddesses as photographs, constructed as photographs. I see them as sculptures, as paintings. I never see them as photographs. But then I was like, so what if I make an image of, what if I construct a photograph of one of these deities? And then I will tell you, if I knew now what I knew then, maybe I would have gotten scared and never gotten into it. But I did. I think that I think a part of it was, transitioning and realizing that this is, to challenge yourself sometimes, you just have to throw yourself into something that's harder than what you've done before. I think darshan definitely took it there for me. So I'm going to actually switch to a video which describes the very first image, which was Ma Lakshmi's image. Hi, my name is Manjari Sharma, and I'm a photographer based in New York City. This video is about my current project, darshan, a Sanskrit word that means sight, vision, or view. What you're looking at is the first photograph created for this project. This is Ma Lakshmi, the Hindu goddess of wealth and fortune. Growing up in India, I saw spiritual paintings and sculptures of Hindu deities everywhere, in temples and in people's homes, but never a photograph. Darshan is unique and innovative because my mission is to prove that a carefully created photograph can evoke a similar spiritual response. It is my aim to create from scratch every detail required to build the images in this series, but most importantly, while maintaining the spiritual sanctity within every piece. In order to create the image of Ma Lakshmi, the plan was carefully plotted out. A diverse team came together. It included set and prop builders, makeup artists, art directors, painters, carpenters, jewelry experts, and assistants. My parents, who exposed me to Hinduism from a very early age, were just as involved in the painstaking process of making this first image. It brought the Sharma family closer. My parents have always been very spiritual. Visiting countless temples was a very common practice to us. I moved to the United States to pursue my BFA and immersed myself in photography. Soon those temple visits got replaced with frequent trips to art galleries, museums, and studios where art was respected and placed on a pedestal to honor. The museum had now become the temple. What darshan really bridges is that whether it's spirituality or creating a complex photograph, they both need practice, faith, and devotion. No effort is spared in the creation of these images. It takes everything I can give in terms of time, organization, and research. And of course, much of that requires substantial monetary investment. But at a larger level, It's an honor to preserve my heritage and culture through the medium of photography. I see Darshan finally presented as a massive art installation. It will be a series of 9 photographs of Hindu gods and goddesses. These are Ma Lakshmi and Lord Vishnu, Ma Durga and Lord Shiva, Ma Saraswati and Lord Brahma, Lord Hanuman, Lord Ganesha, and Ma Kali. After completing my first successful proof of concept with Mother Lakshmi, the financial scope of this project is beyond me, and now in the hands of the universe to see it through. My goal is the bare minimum that I will need for the production of 4 more images, and this will allow me to complete the first half of the project. Darshan will remain just a dream, if not for the generosity of supporters like you. So I urge you to be agents of art and contribute to this offering. If you have a second, please share this with a friend, and I thank you for your time. I hosted this video on Kickstarter, and it allowed me to raise the funding I needed to make the rest of the images. I planned this out as a series of 9 images, and actually after all these culture shocks and reverse culture shocks, it actually dawned upon me that I want to do something with this information, because this information is private. Most of these things that are astonishing you and things that are making you excited about life that information is really private until you decide to share it with someone, until you decide to maybe turn it into a body of work or a piece of art and then share it with someone. So to take that step of wanting to quote unquote go public with your personal information is a big one, and it takes a lot of hashing through before you get to it. So when I decided to get to it, and I realized, first of all, I just spent a lot of money making 1 image. I want to make 8 more, and 1 is too less to apply to grants with. But maybe if I can go to a collaborative funding engine, I could maybe get enough money to make 4 more, and then I'll have 5, and 5 is a respectable number of images to apply to grants with, because 1 was just not enough. So that's how Ma Lakshmi came about, and I was really fortunate that I ended up raising my funds. My goal was to raise 20,000. There's a lot of backers in this room right now. See all of you, and I cannot thank you enough, because I made my funds and I went to India and I made all 4 more. So and a big part of this is so collaboration. Definitely Kickstarter helped me collaboratively raise the money, but that is not the only thing that Darshan is about. Darshan has really been about getting the collaboration from so many people, understanding community and understanding that from retouchers writing to me and people saying, I don't have the money, but I have the time and I have this hands, can I help you package your rewards? And I have 2 people in this room right now, actually, Amelia and Anahit, who have been both helping me last whole week, getting my reward packages together, because I never did a Kickstarter project before, and I know that it has taken over my life, and as many people that can help me funnel it through, it's invaluable. So between outside of what happened with it getting funded collaboratively, I think it's also been created with a lot of collaboration, and to talk really quick about goodwill over here, because I know there's a lot of students here, and I know I've been a student, and I've been out of college, having this community in college, and then stepping away, and people go in all these different directions, and you lose that community for a little while. And you spend that time to build that community again, and you realize that photography is definitely something that needs collaboration when you're in college, because you're like, hey, will you be part of my project? Hey, will you help me help me carry my lights down the hallway? You realize you need the hands of other people, the mind and the perspective of other people the whole time you're in photography. But definitely after you leave college, this is kind of fun. And so the community outreach was really important. But then the chatter of all of this darshan being, getting on a bunch of respectable photography blogs, leading on to some endorsements from names like NPR and Life magazine. That noise and that chatter, it spreads, and it reached this particular college in India called BVP, Bharatiya Vidyapeeth School of Photography. It was like a brand new school of photography, opened only 3 months ago. And I'm going to be mentioning, because right after this we're going to go right into all the new videos and all the new images from Darshan. So I'm not going to wait to mention some very important names at the very end. I'm going to mention them right now. And Bharatiya Vidyapeeth School of Photography had a 4,000 square foot studio and tons of brown color equipment, and they just let me have it in exchange for teaching a workshop and letting their students be on set when darshan was being shot. And that helped me immensely to be able to take these. I raised 26,000, but 20 of that I wanted to keep very cleanly, 5 per shot. And I wasn't going to be able to do that if I kept putting it away into other channels. So I cannot be more thankful for getting their assistance. And then they provided students, they provided a crew, and my initial fundraiser video was done by Bill Gaines and Agnes Gunawan, Agnes is not here today, Bill is here, and if it wasn't for a strong pitch, I wouldn't have been able to raise that funding. So I'm really, really thankful. All of the videos that you're about to see after this, all of them are filmed by Roberto Ferrugio, who's also in this room right now, and he shadowed me for 4 weeks while I was in India with a camera, documenting every step on time. Because with Lakshmi, I just happened to have these assistants who shot the process. I wasn't even thinking how important and engaging it would be to show people the process of the making of these images. So now I can show this in time, thanks to Roberto. And then Lily and Eloisa is in this room, have helped me edit these videos. I mean, I've just been back for barely 3 weeks. So between retouching them, which was also something that thankfully came through the last minute, thanks to Amanda May, who retouched. These videos were edited, and Amelia and Anahit are helping with the rewards. So collaboration and community, very, very, very superbly important. So I just can you all help me? If I could really have like 8 arms like a goddess, that would be really awesome. So this is just to show you just a little quick shot of, these are the premises of BDSP. We used 5 skimmers, 14 lights. It was a studio space of 4,000 square feet, and we had another prep room of 2,000 square feet where people were just creating, which you're gonna get to see in the videos. One of the first ones that I want to go into is Lord Shiva, and it's like just a couple of things about Lord Shiva before you see the video. He is commonly recognized as having a very blue body. He is the god of destruction and dance at the same time, which made it very hard to find somebody who is also a bodybuilder and also graceful at the same time. And it was very, if you found a dancer, the dancer wasn't necessarily ripped. If you found someone who was ripped, he wasn't necessarily graceful. So it was very challenging to find the right character. And one of the things about Lord Shiva is that he has authority over death, rebirth, and immortality. So he is always shown as a very attractive man, which is a very nice thing for our eyes. But it's very difficult, because what we've come to know as attractive men are these chiseled models that we get to see, and that is not the way gods and goddesses are depicted. They're never starving. They never look like their bones are popping out of their face. And so you find these people who send you their pictures, and then you see them for real, and they're on this they're trying to be as lean as they possibly can. So you have to revert to trying to find actors or people more in everyday life, which I always preferred to try and cast these people. So we're going to look at the first video. So there's just little teaser videos. I love how he's on his cell phone at the very end, you know, Lord Shiva just hanging out on his cell phone. And a big thank you to the God Labs for really, really helping me out. So I'm going to show the image now. So this is going to be a pattern. It's going to be, you know, a short description about each god, leading on to the video, leading on to the image. And so this was our final image of Lord Shiva.
Now, how important is it for you what you do pre and post?
My goal is to get as much done in pre. We're shooting on film, so definitely want to. You know, I tell everybody this is not digital, so we just cannot mess up. So I want to say, like, there's minimal post. There's definitely minimal post. I mean, we're not those. Everything that you see was actually there. You know, we might retouch a dinged up floor by people walking on it, or you know, I shift color certainly, because one of the things that I'm like chasing is for people to have that first recognition that it is not that it's perhaps a painting, or it just like reminds you of an icon that you might have seen in a Indian book on gods and goddesses, and then the afterthought is that this is a person looking back at me, that this is an image. And the next one we're going to talk about is Lord Ganesha, and he's distinctly identified by his elephant head and human body. He is known for being the remover of all obstacles. He's honored ritualistically at the beginning of events and ceremonies. So, you know, before you start something, before you buy a car, before you enter your house for the first time, you maybe place a little Ganesh idol, or you maybe hang, you know, a little statue, a little, what do you call that? What is that thing that's in the cars on the top where you, what is it called? Yeah, where you hang the freshener. Sometimes people have like little things, dangling things of Lord Ganesha in there, because that's the first thing they place into their cars before they start to drive them around. So he's supposed to bless the beginning of all events. So in here is a little video that shows you the making of Lord Ganesh. And this was actually to shoot Lord Ganesh was one of my biggest challenges, because the prosthetics were extremely important. Someone who really knew how to make a face, a believable Ganesha face. So. Say of all the models that were superiorly important, you know, clearly, as you can tell, the face didn't matter for Lord Ganesh. It was really his body. And I was really fortunate that my family priest played this part. This was someone who's like spent all these years doing every single prayer ceremony in our house, and before he actually went and got himself made up, and he was under that mask for 6 hours. I just want to tell you, he was breathing from under that trunk. and he's a man of steel. And he did a little ceremony and blessed the set before he actually went and played the part. And I can't tell you how happy I am for making that association and for him playing that part. And this is our image of Lord Ganesha. This particular thing is made in wood. It's carved in wood, and we were under a lot of time stress. Roberta will tell you under how much time stress we were under. But they were trying to slide this thing into the fake hands. You know, they measure the hands and then they build the arms so they can match the character's hands. And they were trying to slide this, and it was wood, and the hand hadn't dried yet, and one of the fingers fell off right in the nick of time. And I remember how much stress. I mean, I always wonder, like, because we're documenting it specifically for darshan, but I'm sure if there were like these in between shots of just like Lord Ganesh waiting while people are rewiring things and fixing his fallen finger. It's a very interesting. It's the closest thing I can say to it is, you know, when like during Halloween you have like Superman trying to like catch the subway, you know, get on the subway. Because you've always seen these characters so in the context of these temples and these, you know, but then to ultimately get this image, but for what happens to get to that point. So the next one we're going to talk about is Lord Hanuman. Lord Hanuman is distinctly characterized by his monkey face. He's an ardent devotee of Lord Rama, who is a central character to the scripture of Ramayana. He is known as the son of wind, and he's known for his strength and determination. Definitely went with a bodybuilder, was not worried about grace hair at all. His purpose is to look extremely, extremely strong and robust. In fact, actually, Lord Hanuman has been blessed with eternal life, and there are all these people in India who believe he's still alive in the Himalayas, and they've still seen him, and it's really amazing. Actually, I heard that in New Mexico there is a temple of Lord Hanuman, and there's a lot of Americans who dress up like Lord Hanuman and walk around. Does anyone else know about this? Yeah? That's amazing. I can't wait to take that back to India, you know. And he is believed to be an incarnation of Lord Shiva, which is quite amazing. So now we're going to watch a video of Lord Hanuman. Literally has probably the best stories in Hindu mythology. He's always doing something that you just wouldn't expect a character to do. He's like tearing his chest open to prove to Lord Rama how much he loves him, you know. And he's carrying mountains. He's not just a monkey god. He can also fly. So you know, he has some amazing superpowers. So speaking about, I don't know about you, but I certainly like saw, you know, the Wookiee, and I was like, oh, Lord Hanuman, you know, and definitely thought of that. But I did also learn that George Lucas apparently at the Skywalker Ranch had many conversations with the person who wrote The Power of Myth, Joseph Campbell, and while planning his characters for Star Wars, he was very careful to draw as much as he can from existing mythology across the world, so people find sense of belongings with different characters. And so it's in some ways it's not a surprise to me when I hear of someone in New Mexico be fascinated with Lord Hanuman, or someone who I never know. They're like, "Are you gonna do Ganesha? I can't wait till you do Ganesha." One of my friends got me Lord, and I have the keychain. I love, he's the elephant god, and it's just very interesting to, I think, we don't always know, we can't always immediately say why we love a certain character, but it probably runs a lot deeper, culturally, mythologically. For all of us, it resonates in a place that, maybe we're not always sure of. So, I love Lord Hanuman. So, and he is the ultimate devotee. He is, there cannot be a greater devotee, and his place in the myriad of Hindu gods is very, very important. So we're going to look at the image of Lord Hanuman. And then the last one, actually, I didn't get back of time. How are we doing?
Fine.
Yeah?
Fine, right?
Yeah, we're good. And the next one, which is the last one that we're going to talk about, is Ma Durga. And Ma Durga is characterized with 8 arms. She's the goddess, she's the wife of Lord Shiva, and she represents Shakti, which is power. And there's a lot of different, so Ma Lakshmi is an incarnate of Ma Durga. And Ma Saraswati is also incarnate of Ma Durga. So she is a very important goddess. She's always seen riding a tiger. She represents righteousness, and one of the most celebrated festivals. So I was really lucky that I didn't really plan this out, because I have to confess, I didn't plan this out. But I got there right before the Ganesha festival started, and I left right after the Durga festival ended. So and actually in chronology, Ganesha was the first one that we photographed. So I feel like, it's always amazing when it all somehow feels like the universe is helping place like the bookends for you. So we're gonna move to the video of Ma Durga. Say, obviously, as you can tell, I wish I could say I built every part of the set myself, but I cannot say enough how great teamwork is, and when it really comes together. And it totally does not mean, it's not like we were all 35 of us are best friends, and we can we probably choose to have lunch with each other at any given. We definitely butt heads. There was a lot of yelling matches. There were time discrepancies, and I was like, none of you have to catch a flight. I have to get back to another country, and certainly like time means differently in different parts of the world. As definitely. I definitely struggled with like not being able to get things on time. But I will say, and I said this to Jaime before, I think a lot of these people, if I looked at their own individual portfolios, they've worked on movie sets. They've worked on constructing things for movie sets before, which is a whole different deal than a fine art image that is going to be blown up 5 or 6 feet. And I cannot, and I don't want, I want minimal retouching work, because the whole idea is that if all 35 of these people are somehow pushing themselves to create something better than what they're usually used to create, I think when all 35 are pushing themselves, like working beyond what they're expected to do, including me, then that's what takes that image to the level of God. Because we're looking to create perfection out of a man-made object, and we know man is not perfect. Yet man is made in the image of God, which is very interesting. So we're not supposed to be perfect, but the best we can do is if we really put ourselves out there, break every line we've drawn for how hard we can work. And I think that really happened with this set. It really, really, really happened with this set. Like our last set was definitely we started at 6 a.m. in the morning, we went to bed 10 a.m. next day. It was like a straight three shifts for, the entire crew. And there was definitely frustrations, but all of them will accept themselves that they were probably not used to that level of perfection, because in film you don't have to worry about that, because you're dealing with frames per second and things move, so you're not really like, oh, that proportion is off, And I don't want to get into trying to change proportions in post-production if I can help it, and if I can push it. So that was darshan, and I just got back from it. I want to actually really, really, really thank my husband right now, because he's really allowed me to do things that a pregnant woman should not be doing. So thank you, and I think we can open it up to Q&A, right? Oh man.
Amazing question.
So my hope is that I would like to get back to India in March, which is 6 months from now. So I'm hoping that I can, Kickstarter was great. It was like 60 days. It was a whole year, and it's still going. But it was 60 days, and knowing that you have that money, and it's the fastest $26,000 I've spent. I will tell you. It doesn't come into your account until like 7 days or something. They deduct their fees and everything, and then it was like, you have $22,000 something, and I was like, yes. Mm-hmm. And then it started, and then I was like, you now have negative whatever. It happened really, really fast. So, it's really easy it's so easy until I reach this project. Because I've done projects, we all do projects. It takes our time, it takes our energy, it takes our resources where we really network. But when it starts to take this much money, and it's like definitely so much beyond you, but I will say that I just got the Mahalakshmi prints, the prints of the Mahalakshmi, the first image that I'm supposed to be mailing out into rewards within this week. I am so pleased. So I'm so pleased. So I can't wait to see all 9 of them together in one room, but I don't think I'll be stopping at 9, and that's just something that I'm saying because it is a little addictive. But when I was in India, I was already thinking of like 2 other gods that I didn't have like in my list that would just be like magnificent to explore into. It's certainly there's like I think 33 million gods and goddesses in the Hindu. That's how much. Yes.
With all the hand craftsmanship, how many days of pre-production were there until the actual day of the shoot?
I'd say the pre-production pretty much began on the day I got there, which started with first because you couldn't get anything done until you had the characters to size. Because if you don't size, then you can't get the face mask, so the hands started, So I was simultaneously interviewing set teams as I was interviewing characters. So I would say the whole production went down in 4.5 weeks, not including anything post, the creation of them. But then I will say the first one took me 3.5 weeks alone. So it's getting better just by understanding the pattern of what different circles you have to spin at the same time. So if you get the foam core artist, the styrofoam artist working on these 6 things at the same time, then you just get better at knowing what material you want to assign. Another thing that we did this time that we didn't do the first time was we got miniatures made of everything, like little 3D miniatures, and those were given to every department so they could use it, and I could be like, I want these mountains to be in this material, and so they could like assign, they had a concrete image of what to go for. So yes.
How do you think the people felt portraying the gods? I mean, you had one priest, holy man, but the people who weren't sort of devout necessarily.
And I don't think that I think the people who weren't devout would just maybe go to the like, would maybe joke a little more about it. Maybe like they would be like, oh, like, yeah, just hold up, Ganesha might have his pants down if you open the door or something like that. Like that is a joke maybe somebody who's devout will not make. But I think ultimately the challenges with the issues with the depiction, I will tell you, like, Indians will shut a movie theater down if it has, it's a very religious country, and they don't want their gods to be put under any kind of challenging context. So actually, when I was starting out the project and before I reached this midway point, there were plenty of people who told me that, I'm just saying, there's plenty of people who are just going to tell you you're doing something that is, that's going to be questioned, dissected, and might be stopped midway. So it hasn't happened so far. Like, I think a part of it is that my aim is to try and, I'm not trying to reinvent the mythological circle, I'm trying to use another medium to do it, a medium that I know I have been fascinated with now for my whole life. So.
And actually going on that was one thing when I was in India, people not having photographs.
Right.
It's interesting to take it to that medium.
Right, at the same time there has been like Ramayana was a really great TV series, and there are people who have actually, taken a picture of their TV sets, and that guy, that character, the guy who played Ram is, still, like, if he's waiting at the airport or someone, like, there'll be like a civilian that might go by and he might be like, because they have so married his face to the image of Lord Ram. So they can do that, they can take it there, but it is as long as you're depicting it in the right light, I think you're safe. I think you're safe.
There's a question.
Yes.
Oops.
Sorry. I had a question about, one of the things I learned of darshan is, one of the interesting things I've learned of darshan is that you're not only seeing something, but you're also being seen by it. And there's that exchange of that intimacy that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And my question is, how do you separate, as an artist, your darshan and something that you're creating that will possibly affect millions of people?
Yeah.
How do you separate something that has such roots in culture and in religion from your vision and
Yeah, actually, it's great. It was just touched upon by Jaime earlier. And, I am just as much as maybe some of you may be waiting for the darshan of this image myself, and that's one of the reasons why I like shooting it on film, because after all of this, like craziness ensues, I'm just as much waiting for that film to come back to get the first darshan to myself of the image, and then to prep it and to feel like it meets the standards of, at this point, there might be other people who enjoy the darshan series, but for me in my world, I'm like, my 405 backers, like those are the people I know have, apart from the ones who I know that, might have not backed it but believe in it. Like for me, I'm just thinking, these people saw something in Ma Lakshmi and now they want to see it again. So, I'm also like waiting to create that same magic. But I will say that when I close my eyes now and I think of Ma Lakshmi, I think of my Ma Lakshmi. and I just do.
Right.
So.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Stella. Yeah.
Along those lines, because I find that interesting, did it change or alter your own spirituality? And how does it feel to think that it's perhaps your images that then become, throughout the culture in India, the iconic images of these gods and goddesses?
I think it becomes literally as similar to walking into a temple and feeling there's something here that I don't know what it is that I feel connected to. I feel like I said, a darshan, and like you rightly pointed out, is a relationship that you're waiting to happen until you see that image, and that glimpse, and when you set sights upon it, decides what that image is to you and what you are to that image. So there's like another thing that they say in India, and they say that if you believe, and it was kind of resonating in the shower series, that if you believe it's the holy water of Ganges, like when you go to this river Ganges, which is a very holy river, if you believe, then it's Mother Ganges. If you don't, it's just flowing water. So I think it very much boils down to that. I feel like if someone wants to take it there because they connect with it, it is as open as it's been for centuries. That when there are certain temples you relate to more than others. There are certain sculptures that talk to you more than others. It's in some ways, while photography might be being used to employ it at this large scale, like for one of the first few times that I have known, its purpose is very much the same as the other mediums, which is if you find a connection with it, it's yours to have.
Could you talk about your spiritual connection to film as opposed to digital?
Yes, I felt like I was definitely trying to use like the Holy Grail. I didn't want to do digital because something about correcting it on the fly. Like I wanted to know that like at one point that there will be a point after taking this many number of films that this shot has been now done, because trust me, you could improvise for days of what you're looking at. And I mean, when I go back and I look at the video footage even, I'm like, I remember going so crazy about this like little thing of this fabric in this one corner, and like just talking to this guy about he doesn't understand about the fall and the way the pleat has to be, and like he's got the reference and he's had it for days. And I remember like there was a whole chew out session, and I was so crazy about it. And I look at it now, and it's such a minute part of it that like that and it looks great. It looks great the way he had set it out, not the way I wanted it, So I think like that's the one thing about film, is that it puts a stop. It tells you you just like pressed that cable release button. You're done. This picture is taken, and you can't look at it now. You can make another one, and you can decide how many you want to make, and like put into that unknown like well of like find out what's going to happen in a few days. And I really like that about it. And I think also like I think people fear it now. I mean the people on the set fear it, because they're like, better not do it wrong. She's gonna find out 3 days later. You have to do it right now. So I think, and I also like that you change as a person in those 3 days. Think of what you are as on that moment. And I always say this about film, is you shoot. You're one person. You go to the lab. Sometimes not right away. You're a different person, and you're waiting for that film to come back to you. By the time it returns and you're looking at a contact sheet, you have changed. People have born, they died, you had good, bad things happen to you, you have altered as a person. And the way you look at the film now is different than you did before. You don't get that chance in digital. And for this project, I think it pertains. Yes.
Last question. Yes.
My question for you is, you're a child of two countries and
Yeah.
two sort of influencing cultures. So you have the ability to analytically look at this work.
Yeah.
As you said in the beginning, you've come back and you've had that reverse
Yeah.
culture shock. I'm curious how your family and your parents, who are steeped in that religion and culture, what their reaction was.
And I think I would say pretty much like as far as like Mahalakshmi is concerned, as far as the first image was concerned, I don't think they were really excited that they were involved, and I knew what their contribution was in the project, but I don't think they entirely got what it is that I'm trying to do. I think now they do because they think that I have been possessed, and so this time when I went back, they were like, "This is the most amount of surprise time that you've spent in the year with us," because I never go during October. I mean, never go during September, October. It's not like the perfect time to be in India weather-wise. And so they're like, "This is the most unlikely time in the year that you've come, and that's the least amount of time you've spent with us for being here at this unlikely time," you know. So I think that they are so involved with it after having seen what Mahalakshmi did. I think now they understand it, and now they're looking for the results. And now I mentioned to Jaime before also, my brother, as you actually know, Simon, but the rest of the room doesn't, has Asperger's syndrome. So he's got a mild form of autism. He's very much like, I think, for those who don't know what Asperger's syndrome is very much, it's Rain Man. You do what you can do right, and that's all you can do. And one of the things that my brother gets right is mythology. And in his spare time, he's reading through scriptures, and he's looking at trivia, and he did help me make. He helped me decide Lord Shiva. He helped me decide the character. He was like, "This is the one you need to go for," you know. And I think that has been very beneficial to me, because I've kind of become one-track mind about this project right now. I'm like, just gotta do it, you know. And so I in some ways really like I really connect with him on that level, because he looks at it and he knows it because he surrounds himself with it. So that's my brother. My dad is just kind of amazed at what kind of money I'm interested in spending. And my mom is kind of the religious, like she's the one who brings the spiritual injection into the family. So she's just happy that that I'm doing something now that like actually involves both. It involves what I love, and it involves what she loves. So.
Well, thank you, Manjari.
Yeah.